Welcome to my channel and the second episode of the CSS Breakdown series. My name is Michael Dawson, a CSS aficionado. Recent videos of people competing in CSS battles have inspired me to show my own methods to solve the puzzles on cssbattle.dev. This video will break down the process I use to solve a CSS battle and give you insight on methods of using CSS to create shapes in different ways. For this video, I will demonstrate how to break down the puzzle Carrom of the first battle, Pilot Battle, on the CSS Battle site. CSS Battle is a site that hosts competitions where you try and replicate an image using CSS and HTML using the fewest number of characters possible in your code. This includes white space and comments. You are scored on how accurately you match the image and how little code is used. CSS is a versatile tool. There are multiple ways that a goal can be accomplished. Some are easier or harder, longer or shorter, or require the ingenuity to use and discover tricks to accomplish a goal. The first step of creating anything using CSS is determining the basics of how you will accomplish your task and deciding which method among many is the best. I will not be using any sort of canvas to draw the images, even if this method would work. I will instead follow the spirit of the competition and use HTML and CSS to draw. There are many types of coders out there. Some do simple, good-looking, easy-to-understand code. Others write like they are trying to summon an eldritch abomination, and apparently succeeding. I personally like my code to be comprehensible to the average person, or at least the average coder. This step is not about getting the code to be the best it can be, but to get it working. It doesn't matter how elegant or efficient your code is if it doesn't get the job done. Once you have working code, that's when you try to get it working better and more efficiently. You remove redundancies, tying things up into something you can be proud of. The last step is not for coding, it is for points. Removing all excess that was added to adhere to common decency, such as using the correct objects or having your code human readable. Battle number 1 on cssbattle.dev is called Pilot Battle. It contains 12 targets. The target I will be covering in this video is the second target, Carrom. It is a little more challenging than simply square from my previous video. Now we shall begin solving this target by figuring out how it could be made. It seems like there are two obvious ways to tackle this problem. Both methods include having a purple background. The first method uses 3 div rectangles, the first containing a large orange rectangle. Then, the middle would be covered by a purple horizontal and a purple vertical div. This was the method I originally used because it uses one less div than the other obvious solution. But due to the benefit of hindsight, I know that the other solution can be minimized to use 9 less characters than this one, so we will move on to the second method. This method, instead of using 2 divs to cut up a third, instead uses 4 smaller divs to form orange squares. This is the solution I will be demonstrating. Now we will begin to implement our plan. First, we clear the code area. I create my body tag. The body is needed for the purple background and because it is a required tag for any HTML document. Then I will create my 4 divs to act as the orange squares. I have named each of them because they have unique attributes. TL for top left, DR for top right, BL for bottom left, and BR for bottom right. Now I will add some style tags to contain my CSS. Beginning with the body, I add a background using the purple from the palette. Next, I style my div starting with TL. I set its width and height to 50 pixels and change its color to orange. After that, I position it at 50 pixels from the top and left with absolute positioning, which positions it relative to the container. Now that I have one done, I copy and paste it 4 times, changing the name and location of each one so that the squares are in each corner, 50 pixels from the edges. The output seems to match the target, so I will submit, and I get a 100% match for a score of 600.81 using 651 characters. 651 characters seems like a lot for such a small thing. There is a lot of repetition and things that could have been done a lot more efficiently. So we will begin to clean up the code. First, we will make a general style for the div element. Each div is 50 pixels by 50 pixels. There's no reason for this code to be repeated 4 times when once is enough. They also all have absolute positioning and an orange background, so we will add that to the div styling and remove it from their individual styles. While the positioning may not be shared with all the divs, but each attribute is shared with one of the other squares. 2 at the top, 2 on the right, 2 on the bottom, and 2 on the left. So we will combine those. While this still leaves 4 styling blocks, each block only has 1 position element instead of 2, cutting down on 4 lines of code. After all that, it seems we have not messed up our image and it still matches our target, so we will submit. Our score before the optimized code was 600.81 and we used 651 characters. Now we have reduced it to a single year worth of 365 characters, netting us a score of 612.34, a big improvement. Now it is time to see how much we can cut out without breaking it. First, I will remove those pesky body tags. I know they are required for the HTML to function. You know they are required for the HTML to function. It's so well known that the browser knows that the body tags are needed for HTML to function, and it will add them there for you, so they are not needed here. Next, we will remove those giant div tags and replace them with our old friend, the paragraph. I give each of them a 1-letter made-up attribute so that we can still identify them: PA, PB, PC, and PD. Of course, our styles were pointing at divs with unique IDs, but these divs and IDs are gone. So we will switch those ID selectors for attribute selectors and switch our div style to a P style. Now we will remove the superfluous pixel units. Most attributes default to pixels, so as long as it's not one of those few tags that will require specified units, you can usually safely remove them. Now we will move on to positioning. We have set it for absolute, which is 8 characters, when fixed does practically the same thing in this case, and it's only 5 characters. It seems this has messed up our positioning. Unlike absolute, fixed does not take into account its container's margins, so we will need to tweak the positioning to fix this. We drop the top positioning from 50 and settle at 34. Right and left still seem to match the target, so we will move on to the bottom. We will also change this to 34, but the bottom is such a long word, so we will cut the length of bottom in half and replace it with top. This makes the positioning 184, which is 1 character longer than its previous 50, but it's still a net gain of 2. We could also change the right to left, but that would remove 1 character from the attribute name and add 1 character to the attribute value, a net gain of 0, so there's no point. Next, we will change the body style to an asterisk style. This applies the style to everything, and it's a lot shorter than body. This can also be used if a lot of disparate elements share an attribute such as position. Now, we remove the white space and the semicolons at the end of blocks, and any closing tags that the browser will fill in for us. Now, after submitting, the solution was a 100% match using 167 characters for 681.43 points. Please like and subscribe to feed the algorithm and to be informed of when I post the video for Target 3. And unless I fail at YouTube, there should be a banner pointing you to Target 1 floating on your screen somewhere in case you missed it. If you have any tips, tricks, and techniques, or even just a better way to do this target that I overlooked, please share them down below in the comments so that we can all get better.